You searched the 1926 Irish Census, found your ancestor's name, felt delighted for about 5 seconds, and then probably missed the most important parts. Because the real clues are usually not the name, it's the line beside it, the address down the street, the birthplace you were not expecting, the child who is missing from home, or the relationship label that quietly changes the whole story. So, in this follow up, I'm showing you 5 hidden details most people miss in the 1926 Irish Census. And for each one, I'll show you what to search next. The first hidden detail is the address. And I know that sounds obvious, but the address is not just where someone lived, it's often where the story begins. An address can reveal neighbours, cousins, in laws, employers, borders, family clusters, even future spouses. And the National Archives explicitly advises browsing by townland or street if you already know the place from another record, rather than relying only on a name search. A brilliant real-world example comes from Francis Street in Dublin's Liberties. Recent coverage showed novelist Joseph O'Connor using the 1926 census to find both of his future grandparents living on the same street before their marriage. Ellen O'Neill, 22, a shopkeeper at number 15, and Thomas O'Connor, a woodcutter, at number 142. The census also showed Ellen's father was a chimney sweep and her mother ran the shop. One street suddenly becomes a family love story. So when you find your person, do not just crop their line. Screenshot the full address, screenshot the page header, then browse the surrounding households. If the same surname appears 3 doors away, that may not be coincidence. It may be the next branch of your tree. The second hidden detail is age, but not just age. In 1926, the census records age in years and months. The extra precision is gold, especially when you are trying to separate 2 people with the same name or check whether you have the right birth registration. The form design itself makes that possible. And this matters because names are not always what you expect. Samuel Beckett is the perfect example. Recent coverage of the census showed that if you search for Samuel Beckett, you may miss him. He appears as Sam A. Barclay Beckett, age 20, a medical student in Foxrock. If you only search the familiar version in your head, you miss the real entry on the page. So when you find the right household, write the age down exactly. Do not round it, do not simplify it, keep the months. And then cross-check that with Irish Genealogy, which lets you search civil, birth, marriage and death records by name, place, year range, and for birth records, mother's surname. Birth indexes from 1900 to 1925 include the mother's birth surname, and this is incredibly useful for confirming family groups. Third, birthplace. This is the moment when a simple family history story becomes migration story. The birthplace field can redirect your search to a different county, a different registration district, or a completely different country. One small line can explain why a family appears to arrive out of nowhere. Éamon de Valera is a vivid example. Recent reporting on his 1926 household form notes that he listed himself as a Tatadala, filled in the return in Irish, so member of parliament, congressman, that sort of role, and recorded his birthplace as New York. One field changes the scale of the story from a Dublin household to a transatlantic life. And the broader census reinforces this part. Reporting ahead of the release highlighted a more mixed and connected Ireland than many people assume, with foreign-born residents, hotel guests, and workers from outside Ireland appearing across urban and rural settings. So when you reach birthplace and pause and ask, is this where they were expected to come from or not? If not, that is probably your next research project. Now, fourth, occupation. And here is where the 1926 form becomes especially rich, because it records not just personal occupation, but also the employer or business name. And that matters even more because the National Archives says occupation and employer are being added to searchable free text fields in a later phase. Right now, the viewers who manually inspect a page are ahead of the searchable interface. Now, recent coverage has already shown how revealing this can be. Beckett is recorded as a medical student. W.B. Yeats appears as an author. Across the census, there are shopkeepers, domestic servants, farmers, biscuit makers, umbrella fixers, rabbit trappers, and other trades that instantly place people in local economies and social worlds. So do not just note the job title and move on. Ask, does this point to a named business, a factory, a court, a railway, a shop, an estate, or a local industry? I did some work for one client and I was able to really place their family because they were all bootmakers. And this means that I was able to say confidently that one Michael O'Connor was not the same Michael O'Connor because of this family industry. Now, one habit, keeping the occupation, might send you into directories, newspaper archives, and local history. Fifth, and in many families the most revealing, is the relationship to the head of household. This is where easy assumptions fall apart. The child you think belongs to the couple at the top may not. A daughter may later prove to be a granddaughter. A servant may be kin. A boarder may later become family. And in institutions, the person you need may not appear under their name at all. The National Archives is very clear on this point. For institutions, such as industrial schools, hospitals, barracks, asylums, and workhouses, the most effective approach is often to search by place, because the forms are organised under a superintendent, matron, brother, or officer, rather than under each resident's name. And sometimes this column carries emotional weight as well as genealogical value. Coverage of the release notes that at Tuam Children's Home return for 120 children aged between 8 months and 6 years, the word illegitimate was written in the marriage or orphanhood column. This is not a technical detail. It tells you something hard about how vulnerable people were being recorded. So do not just read your line. Read the entire household or the entire institution sequence and ask who is present, who is absent, and who is being described in a way that changes the story. So here is your simplest possible workflow. When you find a 1926 census entry, screenshot 5 findings before you leave the page: the full address, the exact age in years and months, the birthplace, the occupation and employer, and the relationship column. Then download the high resolution PDF, not just a browser grab. The National Archives says the public PDFs are high quality colour files, and the digitisation project captured the census in 400 DPI full colour. This is why close reading works so well here. And if you want the next level after this, there's a whole second layer waiting for you. Years married, children born alive. This may explain why you've got birth certificates that don't go anywhere. Children living elsewhere, acreage, rooms occupied. Do you have, as I have in my family, 9 people living in one room? Or do you have people living in many rooms? It also gives you institutional context. Now, if you want part 3, type part 3 in comments. And if you have already used the 1926 census, tell me the strangest clue you found. A missing child, a surprise birthplace, an unexpected job, a completely different version of a name, or a household that's not the household you thought it was, because the name is only the beginning. The story is in the details around it. So please follow, like, and subscribe so you can get more genealogy and family history with a lot of Irish every Sunday at 7, and share, please. So thank you for following. Bye.